You saw this conversation happening on Twitter, and you feel that, look, regulation isn't the answer. Why not?
Yeah, look, I don't think we need regulators to protect billionaires from gambling their money. You know, Mark Cuban admits that he invested in this thing with doing zero research. This contract that powers this stable coin was not audited. And yeah, I think it's just another case like so many others of people just throwing money into something brand new without doing any research on it, without understanding the fundamentals, without looking at the code, and just hoping that it's going to go up like everything else. And to call for regulation because you made a bad bet, fully knowing what you were getting into, fully knowing that you did not do any research yourself, you know, I think is just going too far. And regulators are having a hard enough time understanding Bitcoin. To get them to understand this bleeding edge DeFi stuff, I think it's just asking too much, and it has the potential to really slow down the industry and slow down a lot of innovation. And I don't think that's what we need at this point. You know, I think we just need more people doing their research, especially billionaires that are going to be making statements publicly, encouraging other people to get into these things. You know, I think that's irresponsible. I think when you have that kind of an audience, you really need to be careful about what you say and not mislead people into thinking that these are all winners.
So which is it? I mean, here it is, 2021, a billionaire trading some really far out DeFi exchange. Is that cool? Like, wow, that's happening in 2021? Or is it sort of like, wow, this is sort of like what happens at the top where a billionaire is tweeting about regulating a stable coin on like some Ethereum sidechain? Like, is that a sign of the beginning or is it a sign of the end?
I think it's a sign of the beginning. You know, I think it's still very early days for crypto. I think a lot of this DeFi stuff is just getting figured out. I think, you know, over the next decade, DeFi is going to replace a lot of the existing financial services infrastructure. It's going to replace a lot of the unnecessary middlemen and necessary trust layers when you have just algorithms, formulas, math, sort of doing the job of millions of people and fully transparently, fully auditable. And I think it's going to be a new paradigm for financial services where the consumer has direct access to the market versus having to go through many layers of middlemen.
But
so,
aren't middlemen just kind of, well, isn't regulation kind of inevitable if, yes, I understand that, of course, Mark Cuban's come forward and said, look, I didn't do my due diligence and I admit that and I lost some money and I was stupid. But if we are going to see retail hurt by this, if people do get a pile on because they follow what these people say, doesn't that inevitably mean that someone is going to have, regulators are going to have their heads around it in some way, shape or form, Jesse?
The regulators are already deeply involved with the space and have been for a long time. So I don't think there's a lack of regulation right now. I think there's a significant amount of oversight already. I think it's when you ask the regulator to get into the details and block people from participating in the market where they might be fully qualified and fully understanding of it. You know, there's no way you can stop people from investing in things, even in equities, without doing any research. You know, and there are tons of bad bets to make in the stock market as well. You know, the government's selling lottery tickets. So there are a lot of bad bets out there, but I think people need to have the ability to invest when they have done the research, to make that bet and to not be blocked by the government from making a good investment, you know, which has been the case historically with these investor accreditation rules. And crypto is one of the very few things that a retail investor can get in early on and still see the kinds of gains that venture capitalists have seen.
Jesse, Kraken is a centralized exchange. And of course, there's the rise of these decentralized exchanges. Do you think about that when you think about the future of Kraken, the competitive landscape? Is that a threat to you? Is there a future part of your roadmap where you can make your own exchange potentially more decentralized? Like, how do you think about the emergence of these markets from a sort of business perspective?
Sure. It's still very early. Long term, we do see decentralized finance as something that we want to integrate more with and give consumers more exposure to directly. So we see ourselves sort of building a portal or an interface layer for people to engage with these things in an easy to understand way, where they don't really need to understand all the guts of what's happening behind the scenes, but they get the benefits of the underlying protocols through an interface that they're familiar with. So long term, it is somewhat competitive, but I think it'll be more of an integration play where they're able to use those services through a platform like Kraken that comes with customer service and banking rails and all of the things you would expect from a traditional financial services provider.
So the one other thing that's going on lately, obviously, is that we've seen this decline in the price and volumes of crypto across a lot of different exchanges. And, obviously there's theoretical use cases for a lot of this stuff, but a lot of the reason why people get excited about crypto is simply they're excited about the number on the screen going up very fast in a short period of time. How do you break out of that cycle? Like, how do you get people to be excited about the ecosystem more broadly rather than just the excitement of making money very fast?
Yeah, I think it's hard in the developed world where we have access to great payment rails, great banking system. But there's still a lot of users of cryptocurrency who basically don't have an alternative. They're using cryptocurrency because their national currency has failed because of hyperinflation, or because they're not able to get access to the traditional banking system because they don't have documentation of their identity or things like that, or even children don't have a way to store value online. So it's solving a lot of pain for a lot of people in the world. I think as an adult in the United States, it's not so obvious, but Bitcoin and cryptocurrency broadly, do have use cases beyond speculation. But I think it's just part of the process. The early adopters are going to be speculators to some extent, and I think they provide the liquidity to the market, and that provides stability of the price over time. And I think as that happens, it becomes more useful as a transactional currency.